Hey friends, Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, let's get Zwicky with it. Zwickel is a 4.1% lager from Broadleaf Local Beer in Kentwood, Michigan. If Broadleaf doesn't sound familiar to you, you may be familiar with its parent brewery, Brewery Vivant in Grand Rapids. Now, Broadleaf is described as a weird cousin brewery of Brewery Vivant, but Broadleaf does have some of Vivant's beers on tap in their Kentwood tap room, as well as their own offerings. Now, this one was sent to my good buddy Eddie, and two things kind of really piqued my interest about this beer, and that's number one, this is a lager, so there aren't a whole bunch of lagers out there, but there are a few. And number two, this is a low ABV lager, 4.1%. Macro lagers are lower ABV, but craft lagers are usually a little bit higher than the macro ones. And not to mention the really inventive label design. So with that being said, let's take a look at the label and get it into a glass. Fun fact, Vivant wanted to stay more of a saison and farmhouse brewery, so they created Broadleaf as an offshoot to explore other styles of beer, and more exploration and more different types of experimentation with beer, in my opinion, is always a good thing. So let's take a look at the label here. First off, they have the Broadleaf logo on the very bottom. It says local beer, Broadleaf local beer, and has a picture of a leaf. But the name Zwickel, it's like this really, it has this really striking kind of design that pops out, and Zwickel in orange is like the forward way, and then behind it is this dark blue way, and that's spelled backwards. And then it has some geometric designs on the back, which I'm not quite sure what those are. I'm sure there's something. But then on the side here, the whole side of the label is these raised dots. And you're like, wow, raised dots, that's kind of weird. This is in Braille. So the label itself is not only written out, but it's also in Braille for the people who, you know, for our non-sighted friends who can't actually see what the label looks like. You can just touch it and you can tell what it is. I think that's really cool. I've never seen Braille on the label before, and I believe this is the first time Braille has been put on a beer label. So then on the bottom it says unfiltered lager beer, 4.1 alcohol by volume, 1 pint. And then on the other side it says brewed and canned by Brewery Vivant, 925 Cherry Street, and that's in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And then on the bottom, the label, the packaged on date is October 7th, 2019. It says no farms, no beer. And that's true. We learned that from the last Brewery Vivant beer that I reviewed. But so this is a couple months old, but that's fine. It's a lager, so it's not really going to, as long as it's not super old, it shouldn't make that much of a difference. I'm going to pour it into a Tiku glass today. It's a little bit wet. I just rinsed it. This is my my Trax, Witch's Hat Trax glass. Let's go ahead and pop this. And of course, put a nose on the can, which I always do. And it has a traditional lager kind of smell to it, so it's not anything out of the ordinary. Nothing's really kind of jumping out. You get that sweet, kind of crackery, malty kind of smell. So let's go ahead and pour this. And it's very light, very clear, very nice pale yellow coming out of the can. And collecting in the glass is also this bright yellow color, a really like bright, brilliant white head. I didn't pour all of it in there because I wasn't going to fit too much more in here, but it's got a really nice, like I said, a really nice white head, about 2 fingers worth of head, really crisp, really clean looking head. From the top, you can see it's got these really compact bubbles, some really kind of smaller popping bubbles in there as well. I will pour more in as I go. And then holding this up to the light, very yellow, like almost the extreme example of yellow. And it's got it's a little bit hazy. It's unfiltered again, so it's going to be hazy. It's not going to be clear like your what is it, that Budweiser or Coors or whoever does the cold filtered. It's not cold filtered. It is unfiltered. So it is, there's a little bit of a shadow of my fingers through it. But yeah, it's a really kind of different looking lager than what you're probably used to seeing. If you pour one into a glass, you're expecting it to be super clear in this kind of brownish caramel kind of color. And putting a nose here, a little bit of that sweetness comes through a little bit more. Again, you get a little bit more, you get a little bit of that kind of crackery sweetness that comes through, malty crackery kind of smell. It's not really crackery sweetness. Graham crackers are the only sweet crackers I know, and Teddy Grahams. But yeah, doesn't smell like that. So yeah, so it smells like a pretty, a pretty fragrant kind of lager, but it's very lagery kind of smelling. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Cheers. Got a really crisp, clear taste. First off, you get that kind of lagery kind of taste in there that comes through, and it's nice and thin, crisp, not like super light, watery kind of thin, but just thin. It's not like heavy. It doesn't weigh on your tongue. It just whoosh, just take a drink. and then it's gone. You swallow and then it's gone. So that's a good kind of start. It has a little bit of this honey kind of sweetness in there, like a honeycomb kind of sweetness in there. Not a whole bunch of it, but it's just kind of, it's there. It's got a lot of flavor considering it's 4.1%, very low ABV, but a lot of flavor in there. And when I say a lot of flavor, you have to think this is 4.1%. So you have to go in with a little bit lowered expectation of what taste is going to be like. But this is a lot more flavor. I just did the Stone Never Ending Haze, which was 4%. This has tons more flavor than that did. That was really kind of bland and almost tasteless, where, you know, it had a few things going for it. But this has a little bit more of that kind of honeycomb sweetness in there up front. Has this little bit of a bitter biting kind of back end and this crackery dryness on the finish. The finish is almost, it's a little bit drier than I would expect, but it has a nice dryness to it. I almost want to say I'm getting this bit of a kind of hay kind of quality in there, like a grassy kind of hay quality, almost like what you would get from a Saison or like a farmhouse kind of beer, that kind of hay flavor in there. That's kind of what I'm picking up, but it's really slight. It's more on the finish. It's more on the tail end. Lagers are coming back, folks. So if you're a lager fan and you're out in Kentwood, this would be one to pick up. Stopping in Broadleaf, checking them out, checking out what else they have. But this is just a really nice, crisp, kind of crushable beer. You can have a couple. It's not going to weigh you down, and you're going to be able to have a couple of these. But yeah, it's just really nice, crisp, clear. You can drink one and not feel weighed down. So I'm looking forward to trying more from Broadleaf local beer. Just trying more stuff, what they have. I'm really looking forward to just trying more because this has really piqued my interest even more than, you know, initially looking at the can, seeing how it was really kind of inventive, and now trying this beer. You know, I'm just looking forward to seeing what else Broadleaf puts out. And so far, so good from Broadleaf for me. All right, friends, that has been Zwickel from Broadleaf Local Beer. If you happen to stop in the tap room, let them know you saw their beer right here. Now, have you had this or have you stopped into Broadleaf yet? Let me know in the comments down below while you're down there. If you like beer, you might want to subscribe and click that bell because I'm here talking about beer twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's all for free for viewers just like you. And you might miss your newest favorite if you're not subscribed and getting those notifications. So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by. And remember, drink craft beer, support your local breweries wherever they are. And most importantly, don't forget to treat yourself with a little draft therapy. Thanks for watching. Cheers.